Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Barbera, autism mom and board certified behavior analyst. In today's video blog, I'm going to discuss why I focus so little on teaching social skills to very young children with moderate to severe autism. As some of you know, the diagnosis of autism is given if the child has two main issues. The first is a deficit in social communication and social interaction. Basically, these deficits for a young child include failure to share or show or point to things of interest. And for older children, it involves the failure to take turns and understand the social context of things. In addition to the social communication deficits, the second component of getting an autism diagnosis is restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities. Kids with autism are usually rigid. They sometimes like to line things up. Many engage in self-stim behaviors such as rocking or hand flapping. And many older kids with autism have specific interests that are odd or unusual. Since social communication and social interaction is thought to be the central deficit in children with autism, many people wonder why I focus so much on increasing language and reducing problem behaviors and focus so little on social skill intervention in young children, especially those with moderate to severe autism and major language delays. I do want to give a disclaimer here that the spectrum of autism is very wide. And my books, my online consulting work, and my online courses mostly address the needs of children, teens, and adults who are significantly impaired. I also want to be clear that each child needs a thorough assessment of his skills and deficits and an individualized plan of care. And these video blogs are meant to give just general information and my ideas for how to improve things in general for children with autism. So with that in mind, why I focus so little on teaching social skills to young children with moderate to severe autism. Let me tell you about one of my former clients. I'll call him Joe. When I first started with Joe, he was just turning 2 years of age and just diagnosed with autism. He used to carry around straws all the time. That was his big thing. He would carry around straws, wave them in front of his face, and he also liked to put them into clear bottles if he had bottles too. The first time I came to Joe's house, he came to the door with a straw in his hand. Some kids carry around a blanket in a similar way. Some kids like other things, but Joe loved straws. Parents and professionals often recommend and/or choose classroom placements and group instruction, even for little kids like Joe, because they believe that every child needs socialization and exposure to typically developing peers. But putting Joe and young children like Joe with little to no language into a classroom full of typically developing peers, or even with preschoolers with special education needs, without 20 to 25 hours a week of one-to-one ABA instruction is probably not the best idea. For example, if Joe's mom would have chosen to put him, who he was 2 years old at the time with a new diagnosis of autism, if she would have chose to put him into a daycare or preschool situation without any therapist to shadow him for socialization, instead of opting in for a 20-hour-a-week one-to-one intensive ABA program, what Joe would have probably done is played with straws or played repetitively with any toys that were available, and he would have played over and over again with the same toys. He may not have caused a fuss as long as no one tried to intervene and take the straws and toys and other items away. But if they would have tried to have Joe participate in circle or craft time, or tried to take away the straws or other items, this would have most likely caused Joe to have significant tantrums. Another thing I see with some kids who are placed in a preschool situation before they have the needed prerequisite skills in language and social abilities, especially if the child goes alone without a well-trained ABA therapist to shadow him, is that these kids usually sit away from the other students and they do not engage in any meaningful play or social activities anyway. They tend to pick up toys that they can play repetitively with, and in essence, they engage in self-stim behaviors while they sit to the side of the room. Without some language and imitation skills, exposure to other children is usually just that, exposure with little to no impact. Kids who have little to no language, who are placed in group settings for large amounts of time, especially those without support professionals who understand the principles of applied behavior analysis, tend not to do well. Some children with major language deficits who exhibit problem behaviors even get thrown out of preschool because they hit or bite other kids. The preschool teacher, no matter how well qualified and well-meaning, usually doesn't have the ABA training and support of a behavior analyst needed to know how to intervene to reduce problem behaviors in children with autism, and probably can't effectively teach our children important language and learning skills, especially in classrooms with 10 or more children. I do believe that a few hours per week included in a preschool or daycare setting with an ABA therapist to shadow the child may be an appropriate part of a complete ABA program, even for young early learners who may not have all the prerequisite skills in place. But sending a child without necessary skills, without a well-trained one-to-one, even for a few hours per week, may not be the best use of the child's time. I was speaking at a conference many years ago, and they were selling T-shirts that they had designed. And on the front, the T-shirt said, "I have autism." And on the back, it read, "Don't waste my time." That really struck me back then, and it still stays in my mind now, because I think a lot of times people ask, well, aren't you pro-inclusion? Of course I'm pro-inclusion, but many young children with moderate to severe autism need at least 20 hours per week of one-to-one intensive ABA programming so that they can fully participate and eventually participate even within a classroom setting with large group instruction. Our children and clients with autism don't have time to waste, just like the T-shirt said. For more information about proven ABA strategies to increase language while reducing problem behaviors, download my free ebook and watch my free 4-part video workshop by clicking the link right below this video. And I'll see you next week.